Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. A few days ago, a professor who I respect, her name is Stacy Patton, she posted an article about a father, and the father's name is Tavis. This man posted a video on Facebook and it's generated a lot of talk. Apparently, this man's son, who was about 17 years old, was misbehaving in class. So this father thought it was appropriate to videotape the incident. So he puts up a videotape. He puts on boxing gloves. He has his son put on boxing gloves. And then he proceeds to get into a boxing match with his son. He views this as a form of discipline for his son. He sees it as tough love. So he puts on the gloves, his son puts on the gloves, and they start to box. Obviously, the father is much bigger than the son. The father is more experienced at boxing. So the father basically beats the crap out of his son. At the end of the fight, the son has a busted lip and a busted nose and there's blood all over his shirt. And this professor basically said that this is child abuse and that this man should be reported to the authorities. And the man was actually reported to the authorities and he has been charged with domestic assault. He turned himself in on Friday and he faces those charges. Now, in this video right here, I'm going to discuss the fundamental question. Is this tough love and discipline, or is this child abuse? And I'm going to go with child abuse. I'm going to say that this is child abuse. I mean, there is no justification for beating your son senseless. I mean, there is no justification for beating your son to the point where he's bleeding out of his mouth and out of his nose. This is nothing but child abuse. This is not child discipline. This doesn't teach this kid how to be a better person. We had this ridiculous idea that somehow you build somebody up by tearing them down. You don't build people up by tearing them down. You don't teach lessons to children by abusing them. You don't educate a child by using violence. In fact, that kind of treatment doesn't do anything but miseducate the child. It teaches the child to value violence. It teaches them that violence is a way of resolving conflict. It teaches them humiliation, as one of the psychologists pointed out in one of the articles that I'm going to post in the description box. That's what it teaches them. This is not only humiliation on a one-to-one level, like between the father and the son. This is nationwide and actually worldwide humiliation. The whole world has access to this video of this father beating his son senseless. The whole world has access to this video. So this is worldwide humiliation. You know, apparently this father probably disciplined his son physically before, and apparently that didn't work because his son was misbehaving in class. And I read an article recently about this whole issue of spanking and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not just speaking about this from some theoretical level or anything like that. You know, I'm speaking as a father, you know, that knows about disciplining children. And, you know, I don't think that spanking is appropriate under any circumstance. I think that you can teach your kid, you can discipline your kid without beating them, without humiliating them, without teaching them to value violence. Because that's all that spanking and abuse like this even goes beyond just spanking. This is abuse. And he's rightly charged with this assault. You know, it's just no justification for this, period. So in this article that I read, they talked about how spanking is not correlated with better behavior. It doesn't improve children's behavior. In fact, the article pointed out how spanking and physical abuse is associated with increased aggression, increased antisocial behavior, and mental health problems. So it doesn't help children to be spanked or to be abused like in this case. It's just ridiculous that someone would think that this is appropriate. And really, this doesn't just deal with discipline. You know, there's an issue of narcissism here. In this world of social media, people have become egomaniacs. They have become so self-centered. They've become so focused on themselves that they want to receive all kinds of attention and praise. So they post up videos and they post up pictures in order to receive attention and love and all that kind of stuff. So this is not really just about him disciplining his child. He wants to show off, to basically say he's a tough guy. He wants to show off to say, well, such a good father for beating my kid like this. So he posts a video to get all this attention. That's not how a real man should discipline his child. You can discipline your child without breaking them down psychologically and physically. Because apparently whatever kind of parenting methods he's using, they have been ineffective because this kid is not behaving in class. And I'm sure that this is not the first time that he laid his hands on this kid. And, you know, people often get caught up in tradition. Some traditions need to be abandoned. And as somebody else pointed out in another video, all this kind of so-called discipline where people get switches and hit their kids. You know, they beat their kids like slaves. All of that stuff is just a carryover from slavery. It's a reflection of a slave type of mentality where you beat your children into submission, where you're basically teaching them to value violence and you're teaching them to fear their parents instead of revere and respect their parents. And we have reached such a low point that we accept anything. We tolerate anything. We see the fact that this father is involved in his life. Just that by itself is enough for us to praise this man. Enough for some people to respect this man. When the fact of the matter is, most black men are actively involved in their children's life, as I said in other videos, despite all the negative stereotypes that are put out here. Involvement alone is not enough. It's the quality of that involvement. And abusing a child on camera for the whole world to see, that's not discipline, that's abuse. Both physical abuse and psychological abuse. So tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.